Your old pal Justin Robert Young joining you back here on the stream. Hell yeah. Here with the Monday starting off the week. Big weekend. Yachi machi. Holy smokes, big weekend. Yeah, Iran. So we told you about this about 2 weeks ago. Same day as the World Central Kitchen, which was obviously a gigantic story here in America. But Israel bombed an Iranian general in Damascus. And Iran responded by saying, as soon as Ramadan's over, we're going to answer. So Eid was last Sunday. Shout out to the Ayatollah for not ruining the eclipse. Waited until the weekend after and then launched what our friend Ryan Macbeth estimates is about 5% of their missile reserves in one shot at Israel. There were ballistics, there were drones, they came from Iran, they came from Yemen. They were aimed at civilian centers, and by and large, they were taken out. So what we don't know is exactly who told who what. We don't know how much of a intentional targeting it was. We don't know. Now, this is a weird situation because Iran obviously had to do it to save face, but at the same time, it's launching that amount of missiles into civilian centers of Israel. Like, this is the kind of stuff that starts World War III. It is the kind of stuff that starts World War III. Hello from the Hong Kong Cathay Lounge. What the hell's Cathay? I mean, I know what Hong Kong is. Is that an airline? Oh, look at that. Pacific Flights. I've been to the Hong Kong airport. I've actually spent a significant amount of time in the Hong Kong airport. Not once, but twice. Once going to Singapore and another time coming back from Japan. But, like, I put some miles on the United Club in the Hong Kong airport. So there are reports that say that Iran told the United States what was happening. We do know that. And we do know that, there was that 99% of it was intercepted. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, that would be a very, very high tech level of trust for allies. And Iran and Israel are not allies. They are not. Friends, if you think that that is the case, that is not. Regardless of whether or not Iran thought that this was the worst thing that they could possibly do to Israel, they would not have been sad if there were more civilian casualties. Why is Iran fighting Israel? Well, I mean, some would say that Iran has been fighting Israel for decades, and that the reason why you've seen the reason why you've seen the kind of violence with Hezbollah, the kind of violence with Hamas, is because Iran's funding them. And I mean, and that's true. They are doing that. But this is the first time that we have seen in our modern era where it's come from Tehran. But yeah, that was Saturday night. I would, for stuff like this, I have come to rely more on our friend Ryan Macbeth. I think that he's got a great mind for this, and he has the experience. That's the biggest thing, is he just kind of understands a lot of the military elements that I think I used to assume there was somebody involved in general news coverage that would either check with somebody that had that knowledge or would have that knowledge themselves. And I don't think that we are in a modern world of journalism where that robust level of coverage is something that can be expected. I think that there are a few niches for which are covered extensively. And even them, like theoretically, politics should be one of them. Does anybody think that politics gets covered well in the media? I don't. We can talk about the stash. So the stash has died. Died the stash. The first time I've ever dyed anything in my life. Believe it or not. A lot of people say because the hair has kind of strategically grayed, they think that it is something that I've done on purpose. That is not the case. And finally, graying hair came back to bite me, because the mustache was graying on the edges, and it made people think that I had a Hitler mustache. So, had to dye it. It is what it is. That's it. You guys will likely notice. I haven't had a lot of people talk, even friends in talking to them, say anything about it, but it was an anti-Semitic graying pattern. That's a fact. I had a dude email me. So, on We're Not Wrong, I was reading the negative comments about me. And one of them, I couldn't resist. I try to stay away from labeling people who are critical of Israel to be anti-Semitic, because I do think that it's kind of a shortcut to short circuit a conversation. And I don't think it's usually fair. In general, whenever anybody defaults to something that is, oh, well, you're racist or you're sexist or you're homophobic, if somebody is coming in good faith, I think that that's kind of a cheap way to deal with stuff. So I don't like doing it. I generally try to avoid it. And there is a reality when we deal with our modern discourse on Israel that a lot of people, and I don't know whether or not this is in their heart or they are just new to this conversation and they are slowly trying to get their grips on exactly what the region is. But while I don't find a lot of American, and let's be specific, American progressive voices to be anti-Semitic when they criticize Israel. Israel is a country that deserves a lot of criticism at times. You can just ask the Israelis. Nobody does it more than them. But we do have to understand that an element of the discourse locally that a lot of people are just catching up on is anti-Semitic. Like when we deal with holy wars, they are not fought cleanly. I mean, these are not battle lines that are drawn in a graduate studies department. These are old world things. My tribe better than your tribe. All the way back to the dawn of our modern civilization, specifically religiously. And so there was one comment that specifically spelled out what is, for my money, by the letter of the law, the thing that draws a conversation across the line from regional conversation to anti-Semitism. And that is uniting Jews as motivated by one thing. That's what in general that's my line when it comes to any kind of isms, racism, sexism, or the eas, the homophobias, blah, 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 blah. Whenever it becomes all these people do this thing, that's where, for me, you cross the line. I'm not here to tell you what you should believe. I'm telling you what I believe. So this guy was like, well, look, Justin needs to understand that it's not just the modern Israeli government. It's been every Israeli government. And indeed, every Israeli has always supported this thing. You know, the idea of the systemic elimination of Palestine. And it was the everys that got me. It was the everys that got me. Because I was like, well, now I both respect and don't respect you. I respect that you just, like, yeah, and I hate this phrase, saying the quiet part out loud, but like, I respect that you just wrote in and said, no, all of these people are the same and they all are bloodthirsty. Okay. But I didn't respect him because he kept hiding behind, Israelis or whatever. Just come on. What do they have in common? What do all these people have in common? Just all the people. Come on. All of you, just say Jew. Just say Jew. It's fine. It's fine. You can say Jew. I would have read the email. I would have preferred to read the email if you just said Jew, because at least it would have shown you were brave. Might have been stupid. You might have been racist, but you'd be brave. Just go ahead. Say it. You feel better if you say it. He wrote me back all mad. Oh, but in reality, I don't blame him. And nor do I think that he is at his heart anti-Semitic. I just believe he's, like many people, a tourist. Somebody who's watched, these minor league MSNBC shows. And, taking everything really seriously. And I don't even think that they're anti-Semitic. I just think that like some people just do need to understand that there are anti-Semitic conversations that are happening locally in that region. They are not post-racism there. The world is very different than it is in America. Now we can understand the basic humanity and the precious element of life is something that is worth having our perspective on out here, but it ain't all the same. X15, Justin, you're coming off as an ass. Look, I might be half an ass, dude. I can only give you my perspective. Uh, I like following the news of that region. And I have for a couple decades. But here's the thing. I'm not saying that I'm an expert on it. I'm saying I'm a guy who's read a lot of newspaper articles. I'm saying I'm a guy who's followed the names and the organizations for a couple decades as just an observer. What frustrates me is that perspective is something that is not welcome in the discourse currently. I don't think I'm an expert, and I'm willing to have any kind of conversation. I love having conversations. The conversation that frustrates me is I just said something. Believe it? Why N? Because that's intellectually dishonest to me. I would never ask somebody to do that, personally. Justin is Texas, Florida pill. Wait, but what about the decade I lived in California? More than that, actually, if you consider my childhood. I don't get any of that mixed in. I get none of it. And to be totally honest with you, most of my fascination with the Arab-Israeli conflict came while I was in New York. Yeah, I did spend a couple of years in New York. Those are the 4 states, though. I can only live in states with a certain level of electoral votes. I'm sorry. I have standards. Also, I do need beaches. States I've lived in with real beaches. Florida. Done. List is over. New York does not have a beach. California does not have a beach. And Texas does not have a beach. Well, I haven't been to all the beaches in Texas, but the ones that I've gone to, no, they don't count. Could this conflict bring World War III? Yes. Yes, this conflict could bring World War III. Let's not mince words. This conflict could, yes, it could bring World War III. It is connected to the right wires that it could bring World War III. Yes. So, I mean, there's two ways, really. Either essentially Iran versus Israel becomes something that is like, all right, so Israel explodes Tehran, right? Let's fuck it. Let's all go to hell. They drop a nuke on Tehran, right? Now all of a sudden the United States needs to step up. Iran fights back. It is an all-out war in the Middle East, and the United States is dragged into it. That means that Russia's dragged into it. And so you have a regional conflict on that side. But that's only the second worst thing that could happen. Here's the number one worst thing that can happen. The United States gets drug in, at least on a minor level, on a skirmish that is not that big. And then China says, oh, well, now's the time that we take Taiwan. Yep. And now the United States is pretty clearly in a position where we need to decide, are we going to go across the world to fight for Taiwan? But yeah, I mean, I think we're, it's not inconceivable. That's for damn sure. I mean, hands up in the chat if you have a lot of faith in this Defense Department or State Department. Quite the resume that they've put together. This State Department and Defense Department. And no one's been fired. This is regional religious bullcrap, rinse, repeat, decade after decade. I would agree with you. I don't think that that's totally incorrect. I would say the one thing that is different is that it's usually Israel fighting Iran's money by way of these groups, Hezbollah and Hamas specifically, but, you know, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, that kind of stuff, Islamic Jihad. It's, you know, regional money that flows into it, Iran more than anybody. This is the first time that we have seen active paint trading between the two, especially at this level. So it is same but different, if that makes sense. Does the U.S. have leverage to get Iran to stop supporting Hamas? No. But we are beginning to see, but if you're following that line of thought, you are looking at the Obama State Department specifically, their concept of the Middle East. That, okay, Iran is the biggest problem. So how do we stop Iran? Well, maybe we're not going to be able to normalize relations with Iran, but maybe we lean towards it. Maybe we lean toward a more civilized, not normalized, but slightly more elevated discussion. And that's where the Iran deal came from. That, okay, well, let's start with you want to become a nuclear power. What if we gave you money and you told us pretty sternly that you're not gonna make a nuclear weapon? No, that has not been looked at kindly. Israel hated it from the beginning. The Obama people also hate Netanyahu. They were trying to run him out of politics back when Obama was in office. It didn't work. So, if you come at the King of David, you best not miss, I guess. So that was the idea. The idea was we're not winning by isolating Iran. Let's try to deal with Iran. Russia isn't pro-religion. What the hell are you talking about, my guy? Russia's extraordinarily religious. You ever heard of a little thing called the Eastern Orthodox Church, my guy? Very religious. Very religious, Russia is. Let's not forget, Putin was killing jihadists before it became cool in America. He was bombing Grozny, I think, before 9/11. Let's see. Russia-Chechen War. Yeah, you've had 2 Chechen wars in Russia. But yeah, the second one, which was but that was the Putin one. Yeah, they bombed the shit out of Grozny. If we did get into World War III, you think either Trump or Biden could step up? I mean, what do we mean by stepping up? Would Russia back an Islamist state? Well, I mean, they will deal with Iran. They will buy Iran's energy. They will back Iran, but that's enemy of my enemy. Let's get back to this. Do you think either Trump or Biden could step up? Well, what do we mean by step up? Do we believe that the United States could win World War III? Well, I certainly hope so. We've pioneered some of the new fronts of this, and that's another reason why Israel is, you saw a lot of this over on Twitter over the weekend, that part of the reason why you justified that America is an ally of Israel, beyond the religious and the cultural stuff, beyond the idea that having a democracy in the Middle East is something that we are invested in, is that technologically they are really good. In cybersecurity, a lot of the most advanced technologies comes out of people that, God damn it, there's one, I can't remember the name of it. It's one division within the IDF that is their cybersecurity stuff. And a lot of the most potent cybersecurity weapons come out of that in the private sector. But you would hope if it was for real World War III that the United States would have an advantage in terms of cyber warfare. But who knows? Unit 8200. That's it. Thanks, Waffle. Famous last words. I think we could win World War III. No, I'm saying we better. I certainly hope. Yeah, we got a pretty good thing going over here. I get to make money with a dyed mustache talking politics in the morning. Hard to make money with nukes going off. Well, if nukes are going off, we're in a different world. Hopefully, I'm down in the basement with the Mormons, like the Fallout show. Need to be making more Mormon friends. A mustache dying stream would have been a great hit. It would not. Trust me. It did not take long, and it was mostly me in the shower. Not fun, not interesting. The reality of doing it on stream means I would have probably wound up shaving my mustache into a dumb shape or dyeing it darker or lighter than I wanted to, and nobody would have been happy. Yeah, you're right. I could have, I could have, done a shower stream. That's true. Colonel Sanders' color was the move. I could have went full white mustache. Maybe one day. Well, I think the mustache will be all white. I'll probably just dye it until I can just have it all white. I saw a 2-second clip of Will Smith playing or doing Men in Black in the outfit with J Balvin at Coachella. Look, man, never bet against Will Smith. Even when Will Smith is actively trying to destroy Will Smith, never bet against Will Smith. We like Will Smith. I mean, the way to make money on it is a comedy with Will Smith and Chris Rock, right? That's how America buries it. I do. It is a lot more Magnum PI. It is a lot more Burt Reynolds. But I like that. I don't know. I'm trying to butch up. You know? I'm also moving into my J. Jonah Jameson phase. It's just going to be me pounding the desk asking for pictures of Spider-Man for the next 30 years. So if you don't want to be in on it, then there's the door. Stogie streams ahead. Oh shit! If I can actually just cash in on that, I mean, the amount of cigars that I smoke just in general. Get me pictures of the Iran conflict. Does it seem like the Ukraine war discourse has soured lately, or is it just my algorithm? Ukraine aid is going to pass this week. Mike Johnson's going to put it on the table, and it's going to pass. If he were smart, he'd do it today while Trump is in trial for the first time. They're going to call it Israeli aid after Iran, but I think the Israel stuff is going to be the last bit of grease that the Ukraine aid supporters are going to need to push it through. But I don't know how much longer it's going to be. I don't know how much more. I think we're pretty much done with the Ukraine aid. And you know, this gets back to my criticism of the State Department. What the hell has the State Department done? Go ahead and look at that resume. Horrifying departure out of Afghanistan. The Middle East is more violent today than it has been in my entire lifetime. We were apparently warned that Vladimir Putin apparently told the State Department, according to Franklin Foer's book, The Last Politician, Putin told the Biden administration he was going to take Ukraine. And the best that we could do was predict it was going to happen after he told us. And meanwhile, our greatest geopolitical foe are cracking their knuckles on the other side of the Pacific. And let me reiterate yet again, not one change in leadership. There are rumors that Zelensky is living the high life with the United States funding for Ukraine. Do you believe that it's true? No, I don't think that it's like lifestyles of the rich and famous kind of stuff, but there's no doubt that the United States explicitly, this is not a secret, this isn't a rumor or a conspiracy theory, the United States is funding the government. That's where a lot of the money's going, is we are paying for the governmental infrastructure of Ukraine. And so, you know, does he live in the residence he lives in because of the United States? Yeah, that's true. Most of the money goes to replace the stuff being sent US. Well, no, that's what the weapons we send are old weapons to Ukraine. The money we send is to fund the government. So we send old weapons that we were going to have to essentially send back to the military industrial complex to get fixed anyway, and instead, we're just going to order new weapons by sending the old weapons to Ukraine. Now, I've heard fairly good arguments that us sending the old weapons is actually kind of a smart idea. But that still means that, I mean, again, we're tying the money that funds the government to that. ultimately, this is about a lot of money going to Ukraine. Anybody who tells you that it's anything other than that is trying to sell you on the fact that there is going to be a lot of money going to Ukraine. And right now, the appetite for that is not great because the economy is not great. Yeah, the Taliban has our brand new shit. The Taliban that we gifted them. We said, "Oh, here, please, take a bunch of our new shit as a parting gift." You want to know what? We've been some real pig-headed chuckle fucks the last couple decades. So why don't you take some new weapons and we're gonna hit the dusty trail, Taliban. It's been real. It's been fun, but can't say it's been real fun. Happy beheading. Brrr. Meanwhile, we realize we've left like 400 people we promised we'd get out. My job here is done. It means a lot of the money that we're sending to Ukraine is going to our military contractors. Again, yeah, the weapons, yes. But Ukraine is spending essentially their entire tax base on funding this war. So we are making up the difference on the back end of what they have spent from their tax base to keep their government going. That's part of the aid. It is going into Ukraine. Now, whose pockets it finds itself in, whether or not there's a little skimmaroo, welcome to Europe. Mig Villa. I thought they blew up all the nice stuff. Depends on your definition of nice stuff. We left a lot faster than we were thinking about leaving because the White House really liked the symbolism of 9/11. Having 9/11 be, we were out of Afghanistan on 9/11. The war started because of 9/11. By the way, if you are not subscribed to the Politics YouTube channel, I would encourage you to do so. We're fledgling, we're building. Here's the good news is we're growing. We are growing on that YouTube channel. And that means we are getting fed to people who don't know your boy from a hole in the wall. No, I'm just some stuttering, stammering jackass trying to horn his way into the political ecosystem of YouTube. And so I would encourage you, folks who do know who the hell I am, to subscribe. And if you do see fit, then give me a thumbs up. Hey, subscribe and don't forget to ring that bell. Smash that subscribe button. Corruption is the price we pay for living in a capitalist society. Oh, boy. Oh, no. I mean, we do have a lot more money sloshing around in a capitalist society. So I guess by volume, you might get more corruption just because there's more money changing hands. But by percentage, when you have less people controlling everything, boy, does it get, and no oversight, boy, does it get real easy to just say, how about one for daddy? There we go. But just take a little bit. You want to know who do the best job? My nephew. Or better yet, me. How about I give myself more jobs? All hail our glorious leader. Exactly. The man with 7 jobs. Ooh, man. Hammies were tight today. Working out. Had some tight hammies. I didn't really get to work out last week at my normal clip because we were, we had the eclipse, and then we were busy. So how about that Trump trial? Who's excited? Well, I'll tell you what. Number one, I think we've already done the commentary that we need to do on the Trump trial based on the fact that nobody wants to talk about it. For the first time, a former president is going to be facing criminal charges in a New York City courtroom, and it is a trial that is begun right now. And nobody brought it up. What did we get to? We got to my mustache. We got to Iran. We got to corruption. We got to Ukraine. All before we got to this. What does that tell you? I think it tells you that everybody's kind of bored with it. Well, number one, it's a boring story. Does anybody really want to go around the block again about Stormy Daniels? Does anyone really want to do it? I mean, I think I was over the Stormy Daniels thing back in the Avenatti era. I was out on that. We have beat that horse to glue. It's like, all right, can we speed run it? Here, let's speed run it. Can we speed run it? Let's speed run it. Here we go. Speed running the Trump trial. Do you believe that Michael Cohen is telling the truth now? And if your answer is yes, when did you start believing Michael Cohen? And previous to that, did you think he was a big fat liar? We're done. That's it. That's it. If the burden for a criminal trial is beyond a shadow of a doubt, then Michael Cohen's legal name should be changed to Shadow of a Doubt. It should just be a doubt. A period doubt. Because he's a disbarred lawyer who has been an asshole on all sides. He was an asshole to the liberals before he was an asshole to the conservatives. So what are we doing? So, you know, we're going to go down this thing again. At a golf event, Donald Trump had sex with Stormy Daniels. And Stormy Daniels said his penis looked like Toad from Mario. Donald Trump was then running for president, and the Access Hollywood tape hit. He didn't want his affairs with two women, specifically Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels, to become public. Karen McDougal got catch and released from, or catch and kill from the National Enquirer, meaning that the National Enquirer bought the rights to her story and then did nothing with it. Where Trump worked out a deal with Stormy Daniels to pay her money to not talk about it. The money for that deal came from Michael Cohen. Donald Trump paid Michael Cohen back in the form of legal fees. Was Michael Cohen actually Trump's lawyer? Yes. Okay. So now we are totally taking Michael Cohen's word that these legal fees were not legal fees. These legal fees were the payment that Michael Cohen made to Stormy Daniels. And we're done. Now, that being said, that dude's going to get convicted. That dude's going to get convicted because he's in New York. Concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do. Now you're in New York. So there's a really good chance. I think the case is shit. I think that it was overcharged. And again, it depends on how much you believe Michael Cohen. I don't particularly believe the man all that much. The only Michael Cohen I believe is the one that's on PX3. And he's not the same guy. That dude's living his best life drinking sangria and eating jamon out in España. His testimony is what ties the payments directly to Trump. Aren't there certainly enough records of the payments if they happened? No, the payments definitely happen. So payments definitely happened, but they were paid. Michael Cohen paid Stormy Daniels. Uncontroversial. Michael Cohen now says, okay, well, these checks that I got from Trump, he paid me for what I paid Stormy Daniels. Okay, well, all of that, by the way, is not illegal. Gross, sure. You know, maybe unseemly, indeed. Bit of the act of a cad, indubitably. Not illegal. It is illegal, according to the district attorney, because it is a violation of FEC rules, Federal Election Commission rules, an organization that, by the way, decided not to prosecute this. They didn't see a case there. But Alvin Bragg did, so he brought it. That means essentially that you need to believe Michael Cohen, somebody that has lied on behalf of Trump and could be said to be lying now because he just looks out for number one and he is trying to save his own skin. You need to believe Michael Cohen saying that these payments were the payments that would violate FEC law. So there's not a question of whether or not the payments happened. Indeed, the reason why there's so many charges is because they basically charged Trump for every check he wrote. I think it might have even been check he wrote and entry he made in his ledger about the checks that he wrote. Like one was a crime for paying and another was a crime for recording. But it's what I think I have heard referred to as stacked charges. Well, there's also a question of whether or not this even falls within. They had to charge it as a felony because otherwise, as a misdemeanor, it fell out of the statute of limitations. Three charges for each check. That was it. This is the weakest of the cases, in my opinion. And based on what I've seen, that's pretty much the consensus from anybody that knows anything. It might well be the only one that sees its way to completion before the election. Alvin Bragg's predecessor did not see fit to bring this case. Alvin Bragg did. So, look, this is where we are. I wonder how this affects the polls because again, we are a politics stream, so we are looking toward the election. And the only comp that we have is last summer when these charges first started coming down, that Donald Trump got more popular, not just among Republicans, but among Democrats and independents, more popular than he was. We have seen Joe Biden begin to close the gap in some of the polling, where Donald Trump at one time winning by 3-4, now winning by 2-1. Joe Biden doing a little bit better. Spoiler alert for the election, it's going to be close. But we'll see. Maybe you could not ask for a better case for Donald Trump to make his central argument for all of these legal things, that these are dumb charges that wouldn't be brought on anybody if they weren't challenging for the presidency. Curious if the Israel issue makes people have less of a boner for Trump antics. Well, it depends. It depends on how people see it, because there were no antics when Trump was president. There are antics now. So on one hand, it's like, oh, there's so much chaos. There's so much chaos. Do you want Mr. Chaos back? That's the case that the Biden campaign is going to make. And the Trump campaign is going to be like, there was no chaos when we were there. You had mean tweets. No, these tweets were mean. But if you look at polling, Donald Trump being on Truth Social has been the best thing for him. He can rant and rave and say all sorts of crazy stuff. And by and large, it's not the defining thing that happens every day in the way that it used to be. It all comes down to RFK playing Perot in the election or not. I'm bearish on RFK. Salute to all the RFK heads out there. But I'm bearish on RFK because he doesn't really have an issue. Number one, his poll numbers are melting. And number two, he doesn't have a issue. ATL John Boy, at some point it has to sting that, you want to know what? This could have all been over. This could have all been over. They just would have let him cover Hunter's laptop. Trump wins by a scintilla. And then this could have been done. You could have had Trump out of your life. You could have been running Mayor Pete for president. First gay president. First gay president. Oh man, can you imagine the pride parades? Oh, that's what Democrats love the most. Democrats love the firsts. They love the firsts. The substance use under the Trump administration was crazy as they continue their unwinnable war on drugs. I mean, only one White House got caught with coke in it. Now, that being said, DC is a party town. DC's a party town. I don't doubt that anybody in government was getting tuned up however they want. I'm going to pay my taxes today. I'm not going to do my taxes today. I'm going to pay my taxes today. Because I learned my lesson last time. I got an extension, but you have to pay today, no matter what. Just pay. Just pay a number. And then as long as you've paid a number, then they don't charge you a late fee. Like Blockbuster. Mayor Pete is Secretary Pete. Yeah. And everything's going great with transportation. Right? What's the last bad thing that happened with transportation? Name me the last bad thing that happened with transportation. Okay. Other than a ship taking out a bridge, name me one other thing that's gone bad when it comes to transportation. Okay. Other than the train derailments that put toxic chemicals all over the place and the barges and the fallen ship and the fact that a bridge collapsed because a ship hit it. Name me one other thing that's gone wrong with transportation. Okay. Other than the Boeing planes falling apart and a whistleblower possibly being murdered and the train derailments with the toxic chemicals and the barges and the bridges. Name me one more thing that's gone wrong with transportation. See? Perfect record. Secretary Pete, A plus. A plus for Secretary Pete. And he got some quality time in with his new baby. He got his quality time. Good. Good. Family first. Family first. Uber Eats showed up on time. Boom. Vote secured. Is Pete the one who sexed on Twitter? Wait, what? Who sexed on the Twitter? Who sexed on the Twitter? Oh, we're talking about Anthony Weiner? Oh, yeah, that's old. It's old news. Carlos Danger. Uh, New Republican set of polls. Take a look. Trump up 10 in Georgia, 7 in Nevada, 4 in Pennsylvania, 4 in Michigan, 6 in Arizona. Sorry, 6 in Michigan, 6 in Arizona. Biden up 1 in Wisconsin. So this is all told in just swing states. Trump 50, Biden 45, 39% in the definitely Biden, another 5 on the possiblies. Swing voters, Trump up 5. That pretty much makes up the difference there. These are obviously very rosy figures for Donald Trump. I wouldn't put a lot of faith in them because they're very rosy. I mean, like Trump up 6 in Michigan is ridiculous. I mean, if you look at these states, 6, 10, 7, Nevada, I mean, these are the states that decided the election in 2020. I don't know. I don't know if I buy it. I don't know. I don't know. Shocking in a cabinet where there's been so many consequences for poor performance. The getting fired from the Biden administration challenge. Impossible. Impossible. I'm still shocked that nobody got fired after Afghanistan. That poll is from Echelon Insights and the Heritage, or paid for by the Heritage Foundation, conducted by Echelon Insights. So we can assume it was done fairly. We can assume it never would have seen the light of day unless it was positive. Okay. Well, friends, I'm going to cut it a little short here today. I wanted to do an hour, but I do got to I got to get those tax shit done. But I'll be back on Wednesday, likely, unless I wind up booking a last minute interview. But I'll do something on Wednesday. I will do something on Wednesday. It'll be a good time. And yeah, there we go. All right, friends. Till next time. See you later.